My name's Maurice Kempner. I'm an attorney and a real estate broker. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about what I call the 70% rule. Now, your rule doesn't need to necessarily be 70% rule. I like it as I think it's a good rule. And basically, what it's talking about is your standard of living or your budget, right? So, what you're going to have is you're going to have housing expenses, like housing expenses. You're going to have taxes. Those are really the two big expenses. So, whatever you're going to think about what state you might want to live on, let's say when you retire, by the way, these two are going to be the main drivers. State and local taxes and housing costs is going to determine your standard of living in these, whatever state or area you might go, right? Those are the two major expenses. Then there's groceries, food, transportation, that kind of thing, and then what I call all the miscellaneous stuff, entertainment and vacations and things like that. All of that stuff, when you add all of that up, that should be about 70% of your take-home pay or your disposable income. The other 30%, now I think it should be 30%. That stuff you put away. If you want to have multi-generational wealth in a family, and you want to not have the stress of living paycheck to paycheck and everything, I think it's the 70% rule is a good rule. Some people do 90, some people do 80, some people do 50. I like 70%. You decide for yourself, but then you take this other 30% and what do you do with it? You acquire assets that generate cash flow. You do it as a family and you move it from generation to generation, right? And cash flow is key, right? I'm not a big fan of these retirement plans like 401ks and that. I'm not saying they're bad. I just think there's better stuff. And there's videos we make on that, and you can decide for yourself what you think of that, right? But this 30% gives you the possibility, even if you don't have that much income. And I have clients come in and they really don't make that much and they always have money left over. I have other clients come in and they make a lot of money and they're always broke. They're always in debt. They always have bills. Um, I think it was Money Magazine a few decades ago. They went into a place, I think it was Greenwich Village, if I'm not mistaken. I remember reading this article years ago. I'm sorry, I can't give you the exact quotes on it, but at the time, the average household income in this neighborhood was over $1 million per household, right? Those are big, wealthy neighborhood. And they did a study in there. And they found that over 90% of the people that live in this neighborhood are insolvent. That means if you added up all their assets on one side and all their liabilities on another, so you put the house on the asset side, you put the mortgage on the liability side, for example, you put the credit card bills on the liability side, you put the car loan there, all these debts and liabilities, and you put the car and furniture, whatever stocks, retirement accounts, whatever they have as an asset on the asset side, right? If the liabilities are more than the assets, then the person's insolvent. Insolvent. They can be insolvent by $1, by $2, by $10, or whatever, by $1 million, right? They found over 90% of these people were insolvent. So basically, it's just human nature to whatever money people get, they spend it all, and then they try to borrow more. People are kind of insatiable and they're very acquisitive, right? They always want to get more. So you can decide for yourself, though, what you want to do. And I think 70% is a good rule. And then even I've seen people with low income that I've talked to and helped who don't have what most people would consider to be a lot of income. Take 30% set it aside, and they've done quite well with it, right? So if you're making a lot of money, if you're making good money, this rule has even more power. So just think about it. Come up with a number for yourself. Give yourself a little breathing room. That's kind of what this is about, and give yourself an opportunity to create this multi generational wealth.